the Nehru Science Center. I would like to welcome you for today's session. This session is going to be on historicity of the yoga through the lens of arts, architecture, culture, and spirituality. Before we actually move into this program, I mean, all of us, the Indians, are aware that day before yesterday, what happened in our borders at the Ladakh. We had the casualties. In fact, the commanding officer of the Bihar battalion, Santosh Babu, the Colonel Santosh Babu, and 19 of his men have been martyred. The whole of the nation is in reverential sorrow of our hero, who has, all of them very valiantly fought the Chinese and have made the supreme sacrifice. So as a mark of our respect and as a Shraddhanjali to these war heroes, battle heroes, they are our reverential heroes. I think I would request my colleagues here, two co-panelists, Dr. Deepika and Dr. Rajvi, let's all stand in silence as a mark of our respect for about 1 minute, and then we move on with the program. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I think the year 2014 was historic in the sense that our Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji, when he addressed the United Nations General Assembly, he talked about the significance of the yoga. And in that General Assembly, about 177 members out of the 193 have unanimously passed the resolution that yoga should be considered as International Yoga Day. And from 21st June 2015 onwards, every year, this day is being, 21st June is being celebrated all over the world as International Yoga Day. Yoga is an invaluable gift of India. It's an ancient tradition since years together. All over India, people have been practicing yoga. It embodies the unity of mind and body through action, restraint, fulfillment, harmony between man and nature. A holistic approach to health and well-being. It's not about exercise, but to discover the sense of oneness with yourself and the world and the nature. When we are passing through this corona pandemic, the whole global is passing through this pandemic. I think all over the world, people have recognized the significance of yoga, both in terms of improving the enhancing the immune system and also the mental stability, the mental health, all these things. So these are extremely important. But then, the yoga, what is the historicity of the yoga? And then how do we, trace the yoga, the history of the yoga? To talk about this, and also the yoga is now practiced all over the world. Iyengar yoga, for example, is one of the yogas being practiced throughout different parts of the world. So we have two experts with us. One is Dr. Deepika Kothari ji. Welcome, ma'am. Deepika Kothari ji is, I think all of you are aware, she has produced an outstanding film on history of yoga, the path of my ancestor. It traces the 6,000 plus years of the historicity of yoga through art, architecture, culture, and spirituality. We'll be having a 3-minute trailer of this 2-part documentary, which we'll be showing after Deepika ji speaks about her experience, the long, arduous years of about 6+ years of research that has gone into the making of this film. Then we also have with us Dr. Rajvi. Rajvi Mehta ji, I think all of you are aware, most of the BKS Iyengar followers throughout the world, not just in India, are aware that she has been associated with Iyengar yoga for almost about 4+ or maybe 4.5 decades. She has been a practitioner of yoga. I'm sure you're going to talk about and what the yoga means, the postures, especially more so in the current pandemic times. So, ma'am, what I'll do is I'll hand over the mic to Deepika Kothari ji after formally welcoming you on behalf of the Nehru Science Center.
Thank you, Shekana ji. And we are privileged to be part of this program today under the aegis of Nehru Science Center. So I will, because we are talking about yoga, so I will speak on 3 aspects of yoga. One is the history part of it. The other one is how yoga became a tool to acquire knowledge for ancient Indians. And the third one is that in this crisis of coronavirus, how yoga has helped us to sort of stop this or curtail the pandemic to become a rampant thing in India. So I would start with the first verse, the first sutra of yoga, which is Atha Yoga Anushasanam. The shasan, that is discipline, was there from time immemorial, and humans tapped it when their consciousness was ready for it. So this yoga was there, and Patanjali then compiled it, coded it, and systematized the science that was prevalent in his time, and that is what we know as Yoga Sutras of Patanjali today. Now, what is the oldest document of humans? We have Rig Veda. Vedas are the oldest documents of human, and Rig Veda is the first one. And there are 2 words of Yoga Sutra that comes in Veda. One is Tapa and the other is Dhyana. Now, Tapa was there before the Patanjali compiled the Yoga Sutra. So what Tapa means is to control the flickering mind and the sensory organs. And Tapa is, the purpose of Tapa was for creation and creativity. These were the purposes of Tapa, and Tapa was also used to acquire knowledge. And the second part is Dhyana. Dhyana was the tool to acquire knowledge. Tapa was the purpose to acquire knowledge, and Dhyana was the tool to acquire knowledge. And what kind of knowledge was to acquire at that time, in ancient time, was one was the knowledge of the inner world, which is who I am. And Samadhi took us to that level of knowing who I am. And the other one is the knowledge about the outer world. Now, the knowledge about the outer world is to understand the nature of reality. So yoga was used for these kind of things in the ancient times. And for knowledge of the outer world, there is the word Sanyam in Yoga Sutras. And Sanyam is Pratyahar, Dharana, and Dhyan all combined together. The combined application of these 3 limbs of the Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, when they are combinedly used, it is called Sanyam in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. And Sanyam was, if you do Sanyam on certain thing, something, then you get the knowledge of that thing gets revealed to you. I mean, you get the knowledge of that thing. So Sanyam was the one which was used to acquire knowledge. And I'll just give example, like Sanyam on a pole star, Dhruv Tara. If you do Sanyam on Dhruv Tara, then you can get the knowledge about the movements of the stars and constellations. And suppose you do Sanyam on navel, that is navel of the human body, then you get the knowledge about human body, astral and physical. So here, with this kind of Sanyam in the person becomes a tool to acquire knowledge. And this tool, this human body, which becomes a tool or the laboratory, we can say, becomes a tool to do it. And this needs a conducive environment, basically, to function effectively and properly to acquire knowledge. And what was that? What was that to fortify this particular laboratory? So Patanjali says that there are two aspects, which first is yama and second is niyam. These are the two things which sort of helped fortify this human self to acquire knowledge. So, but this kind of knowledge is no longer in practice today. But definitely, yama and niyama are there to train us for self-discipline and discipline in our day-to-day life. Now, interestingly, we Indians already practice these yamas and niyamas, but we generally don't know about them. I mean, we don't consciously practice them, but in our day-to-day life, doing this, and with little more dedicated effort, I think we can enhance these capabilities, which are very important for us to know and to learn. Now, the yamas are five, as you know: ahimsa, satya, aste, aparigraha, and brahmacharya. And niyamas are also five, which is shauch, santosh, tap, swadhyaya, and ishwar pranidhan. Now, I'll take one each of them and try to explain how it has helped us to fight this current crisis. Now, India is engulfed in two crises. One is the recent one, which is the coronavirus, and the second one, which we have been fighting, is corruption. Now, I'll take Shauch first. Now, if you see our archaeological site, the first one, the first settlement of Indians is the Indus Valley civilization. And there we see that the cities had a very systematic layout, and there was a drainage system, there was a water system, and it was so systematically an organized city life that people hardly got ill, you can say. And why I can say this is because people have excavated those sites and found that there are no disease skeletons. And Koreans have done this. So there were bathrooms, there were wells separately, and there were granaries, there were huge swimming pools where people would gather together and take bath and all that. And so these were the things well placed. Apart from that, what that thing has continued even today. Of course, because of the huge population, things have gone haywire, but still there are certain practices that we bathe every day, we wash our clothes every day, we have do's and don'ts in our eating and living, like we have sattvic food, tamasic, rajasic food, and we know what is what. So these are the things, these are the practices that we are keeping even today. But in this densely populated country like ours, we have, in this coronavirus pandemic, we have kept distance from each other. And how we have done this? Amazingly, if you go to the West, you see in sadness and in jubilation, or in happy moments, people cuddle each other. They hug each other, they shake hands, and they cuddle often. In a daytime, many times they cuddle each other. Unknown people also, they do this. But Indians, we keep a distance. We hold our emotions in a very respectful way. So these are the things that we have been practicing, and there are so many other things in the villages of India and small cities that we practice, the yama and niyama that we can see. So I've just taken Shuchita. The other thing that I can talk about is Satya of Yama. Now, in history, there were several travelers who came to India, and these were from Europe and Middle East. And they, over 1,000 years, they have recorded what they saw in India. And what they write when they interacted with the Brahmins, the traders, the common people, they said that they are very truthful people. They are very trustworthy. They are honest. And it's not one or two or few writing. Several of them, I can say in hundreds of them, they have written this aspect. And we had trades for centuries. And this trade was based on promise. It was never betrayed. That's what they write. So India flourished. But why then the country became so corrupt? That is the question. Now, I asked this question to Yogacharya Iyengar, that why we had such a well-disciplined yoga in place, why we became what we are today. So much of corruption, engulfing our country, and it's a real problem now. So he said that when India was invaded by invaders and plundered, the yogis and siddhas, they ran away to jungles with their knowledge to protect the knowledge and to protect the shastras. They ran away. So we lost the connection. The population lost the connection with the yogis. And we had this tradition of Guru Shishya Parampara. So that was the way in which these things were taught by example. So that was lost. So we forgot, much of the knowledge was forgotten over centuries, and the knowledge was weakened also, the remnants we have today in our life. Now, later, what we followed the traits of the invaders, and slavery was one of them. Then, of course, the bakshish, nazrana, and all these things became part of our life, and corruption crept into our system. But we still have hope. And what is that hope? We have a technique in place. We have the right lifestyle we still live today, and we have reverence for the knowledge that we have inherited. So all these things together gives us a lot of hope that we can, rise up again. And I can end this by saying that we can train our cerebral brain, the brain that is responsible for our creativity, for our thinking, and we can train this brain to control our lower brain, which is the instinctive brain, which is the brain which tells us and forces us to do certain things which we don't want to do. Like for example, stealing. We don't want to steal. Our brain says no. The cerebral brain says no, this is a bad habit, don't do it. But still people go and steal things and do certain things which we don't want to do. So the upper brain with yogic practices and training can govern the lower brain to do what exactly the upper brain wants us to do. And this way we can elevate our suffering and can enhance our creativity and do a lot of things in a better way. Now, all this has been documented in our documentary which we made, History of Yoga, The Path of My Ancestors. And this is a long documentary of 96 minutes. 44 minutes are available free on YouTube. And this is 6,000 plus years of journey of origin and evolution of yoga. And also we have intertwined, this knowledge was intertwined in our Vedic times, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, very many doctrines of the time, and Sufism also. And the film ends in 19th century when Vivekananda takes it to the West, and it finds a scientific explanation in the West. So there's a lot of music, a lot of songs and dance and other things for entertainment. And we have visited lots of historical archaeological sites, and scholars have also spoken in it who are authority in their own right. So we will play this documentary. I'll ask them to play trailer of 3 minutes, and then we'll take it further. So,
Saket? Yeah. Umesh, we can play that film.
Yes.
Is the history of yoga linked to the history of religion and faith? Or is it the story of an honest effort by man to conquer disease, old age, and death? Patanjali was not the discoverer of yoga. Where did it all begin? Traditionally, it is believed that Sankhya is the oldest philosophy of India. The Mahabharata also describes Sankhya and Yoga as Sanatan philosophies, that which have been in existence forever. But who was the first yogi? On his journey in time and space, Shiva never abandoned the yogic form. Buddhist temples, we find the Kundalini of Hatha Yoga. At the base of the spinal cord, the Kundalini lies dormant in this way. The way in which the many manifestations of Lord Shiva have inspired Indian literature, art, and society has no parallel. Four chapters in Yoga Shastra. The first is Samadhipad. This chapter is meant for highly evolved practitioners. Here, various techniques and progressive dimensions of yogic concentrations are mentioned. After prolonged practice of concentration with total detachment, the state of self-realization is attained. The wisdom of the state is called Ritambhara Pragya. It is beyond the intellect. In fact, it removes the impressions of intellect. This state of samadhi cannot be achieved through ordinary wisdom. So far, we have completed the 6,000-year journey of the history of yoga. Alongside, we have also completed yet another journey. From searching for Yam and Niyam in the lives of the peace-loving people of the Indus Valley, we journeyed to the summit of Asampragyat Samadhi. The last support of meditation of Ramakrishna has thus fallen. The triangle of the knower, the knowledge, and the known has dissolved. This is the ultimate state of being. Yoga is the surest path which arrives at the summit of being, not philosophy, not even science.
Carry on, sir, ma'am.
Yeah, that is the film. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for this wonderful film. But I'm sure the audience will understand that in it's got a vast canvas of about 6,000 years of history of yoga. And in that 6,000 years, it's through art, architecture, sculpture, all these things have been, you've very well researched that. I was just talking about, the International Yoga Day. It's now practiced all over the world. One of the reason why it's practiced all over the world is that from ancient times, there were lots of our spiritual gurus, yogic gurus, who have taken this to different countries. One of them, of course, is the most eminent BKS Iyengar ji. We have with us Dr. Rajvi Mehta ji, who is from Mumbai, and she's from the BS Iyengar institution. Ma'am, what we'll do is, you can actually talk about the exhibition that we had at the Nehru Science Center, where the yogic postures of which are found in art and sculptures across the not just in India, Indian subcontinent, for example. You can talk about that, and then how do you correlate that with the Iyengar yoga, and how did this Iyengar yoga spread to various parts of the world, especially the Europe, US, and now we have almost 100 plus countries who practice yoga. Dr. Rajvi, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kenneth. Thank you, Deepika, for rekindling the memories of your film. In 2014 October, when the Prime Minister of India suggested to the United Nations that we could have an International Day of Yoga, and it must be one of the first times in the history of the UN that this was unanimously accepted. And why was it accepted? Was it accepted because the Prime Minister of India said it? Yes, I would love to accept that. Of course, the Prime Minister of India suggested it, but the fact is that worldwide people knew what yoga is all about. And they had some glimpse, some experience, and it did something to them. And that experience had come by the people, the yogis.
Sorry to trouble you, ma'am. There is a background noise. Sorry to trouble you. There is a background noise from roadside. Some vehicles' voice is coming.
Okay. The background noise. So, like we were talking that in the International Day of Yoga, when it was brought about, why was it so well accepted? Is because people across the world had some glimpses of yoga, they had experience of yoga, and how did it come across was by people like Guruji B.K. Iyengar, who had actually taken yoga to the world. And like Deepika said, over the years, yoga has been part of India from really prehistoric times. And subsequently, what happened was that it got lost. And like she said, and give the example, Guruji saying that the yogis went to the jungles, and because the yogis went to the jungles, the yogic material was left there. Same thing happened as in the last century, the last couple of centuries with the colonialism. Maybe people did not really respect yoga until Swami Vivekananda came back and said, "Hello, we have yoga." What he called it as Raj Yoga. So we are also intelligent people. We are also having a good aptitude. So we are not, backward people. And then it was Guruji's Guru, Teacher Acharya, and Guruji, and of course his other colleagues. But Guruji primarily took yoga to the world, and he took it like a big challenge. Because when he first went to UK, I remember him telling us that it was in the 1950s and 1947, India getting independence, and what Winston Churchill thought about the Indians, we all know. So what was the respect that Indians had in UK? And in that condition, he took yoga there. And again, what happened was that when he went there, taking yoga there was a condition laid down before him: no philosophy, no Sanskrit, no bringing culture. And he took it as a challenge. And he said, okay, I will teach it without philosophy, without culture, teaching it through so-called physical means. Now, what had happened in the so-called physical postures, I keep repeating the word so-called, is that people started seeing a transformation occurring in themselves and realizing the potential of yoga. And the potential of yoga goes far beyond the flexibility of the muscles and getting a fit body, less disease, ability to overcome diseases. These are the byproducts of yoga. And it is through these practices of asanas that one experiences the entire Ashtanga aspect of Ashtanga yoga. Deepika rightly talked about Saucha, and she talked about the Indus Valley civilization. What Guruji said is that the Yama Niyama need not be taught. Because which culture says that you should not be following these Yama and Niyamas? But what really happens is that he would say that man himself has intrinsic abilities of being a yamic. Intrinsic that if there were adversities, we may be speaking the untruth. If there are adversities, we would be going on the path of violence. So what he said is that the practice of yoga transforms the individual so that practicing yama and yama are not choices. They are part of you. So it is not that should I speak the truth or should I not speak the truth. But I decide to take a path of truth. What do the Yoga Sutra says? That you get established in Satya. You get established in Ahimsa. So when you get established, there is the choice. So automatically Yama becomes a part of you. Niyama becomes a part of you. Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara, Pranidhana become a part of you. And that, how does it happen? It is through the practice of asanas. As Guruji would say, what are we born with? What is our only instrument? It's the body. And it is through this body that we can go on the path of Yama and Niyama. Through this body, we can go on the path of Pratyahara, Dharana, and Dhyana. So, it is through the body which can be molded into millions of positions, lakhs of positions. And just in this 3-minute glimpse, Deepika showed us certain architectures, sculptures of yogic postures. And these yogic postures later, today we think these are postures. But then what is the term for asana? Patanjali defines asana as Thiram Sukham Asana. Does it say sthirata of the body only? There is sthirata of the mind, the sthirata of the intelligence, the sthirata of the emotions. And when the sthirata comes, there is samatvam. There is equanimity. So where does samatvam? Because Lord Krishna talks about samatvam in Bhagavad Gita. So it is samatvam is brought through the practice of asanas. Then Patanjali talks about Pranatna Sahiya Ananta Samapatti Bhav. Effort should become effortless. When does effort become effortless? When we acquire skill. Again, this is connected to the Bhagavad Gita. Doesn't Bhagavad Gita say Karma Sukha? Skillfulness in actions? If you have skill in action, naturally the effort to perform that action diminishes and becomes effortless. And then you are in a state of Ananta Samapatti, a state of vastness and contentment. So what Guruji D.K. Sankar taught us is the interconnection between the 8 aspects of yoga, the Ashtanga yoga, and that these aspects, when we practice, use one means of asanas, we get glimpses of the others. Now, what is the level of glimpse that we would get? It would depend on your practice. So if I superficially practice, I extend my arms, I extend my legs, keep moving my body, fine. It makes me fit, it oxygenates me. Yes, it will make my heart function better. Well, that is one aspect of yoga. So if I want that effect, it gives me that effect. But supposing I go and try to study how my consciousness is, what is the interconnections within my body, as Guruji would give. So when we study the interconnections in our body, our senses start moving inwards. And like we then talked about the lockdown and the pandemic. Now, what happens to yoga practitioners? Well, most of the time, we individuals, human beings, our mind is attracted towards outwardly objects. The mind's through the senses is directed outwards. Now, this pandemic has given us an opportunity to have a limited outward environment, and therefore we get this opportunity for the mind to go inwards. So automatically, our practices progresses towards dharana through the means of asanas. And when we start going inwards, we start studying that, what you say, each and every cell of your body should be felt. We don't even feel, a connection between, say, my tip of my index finger to the base of my index finger. So, the moment I start connecting there, my mind moves in, and as that interconnectivity increases, I become indifferent to the outward problems or what are so-called problems. So Guruji made this tool of asanas, the medium of asanas, to be a source, a methodology for us to go to the different realms of yoga. And he was very particular on the methodology of asanas, the way it was done, because it's very important, because I can believe I'm doing an asana, but if it is not having an interconnections in my body, if the interconnectivity is very poor, then obviously there is no effect. So having said that, last year when we were celebrating the International Day of Yoga, and we had a dialogue with Deepika ji and Dr. Saket and Dr. Kenneth, we thought that, Deepika ji in a film had portrayed many postures from various parts of India, and we thought, let us try to connect that with the postures of Guruji. And that led to this exhibition on the history, a very small exhibition in that sense, because the subject of yoga is so vast, the subject of history of yoga and the culture of yoga is so vast, and also the subject, the practical aspect of yoga that Guruji talks is so vast. So we took an example of few of the sculptures, and we tried to see if we can try to get a connection between the ancient sculptures and see the connections with yoga. So this was the exhibition that was done last year. The theme of the exhibition was balance and alignment. And today everybody talks that Iyengar yoga is all about alignment. It is not Iyengar yoga is about alignment. Yoga is about alignment. If you take the very first earliest definitions of yoga from the Ayurvedic Samhita, it says that it is the union of the individual with the universal soul, the Jivatma Paramatma Milan. How can that happen if they are not aligned? That alignment is an absolute base for yoga. So Guruji would tell us that when you're practicing asanas, there has to be an alignment. Even at the grossest level, when you would practice, supposing we do the Gomukha asana action on the right hand and the left hand, we find it is different. And we justify saying that, oh, I'm right-handed or I won't use my right hand. But that alignment is not just in terms of appearance, it is not just for photogenic purposes, but the alignment is for the internal alignment of the body, the alignment of the mind with the body, the alignment of the intelligence flowing within the body. So that became the theme, and if there is alignment, there is balance. So we picked up a few of these sculptures. This is the definitions of yoga, which is all about alignment. Yoga is the union of the individual with the universal self in the Ayurvedic Samhita, or Samatvam Yoga Uchyate in the Bhagavad Gita, or if you talk about Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which is yoga is the restraint of the fluctuations of the consciousness in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Then, if we go further, the 8 limbs of yoga, and Deepika has already spoken about it. But what Guruji said that these are like 8 petals, and therefore his books also are a series of Ashtadhara Yoga Mala. So here these are these 8 petals which are connected to the source, and these 8 petals can be entered through any of the means. And asana, as I said earlier, becomes the means for us to experience the other aspects of the petal. So, although loosely, asanas are termed as postures, it is not a posture. It is not just a physical posture. Yes, to an outsider, but to a practitioner, it is very different. So, let's take the first Tadasana. Today, we often hear, that there are various asanas, and there are meditative asanas and dynamic asanas. Now, which text talks about meditative asanas being sitting asanas? Is it that only when you sit in Padmasana or Swastikasana or Sukhasana or Siddhasana we can meditate? Well, did we have this Bhumteshwar, where we had Bhagwanji, the Jain Muni, actually meditating in Tadasana, where he had been to such an extent that the sculpture shows that there were wheels growing around his feet. So how absorbed was he in that state, how steady was he in that state, that there was wheels growing around him. And that is how Guruji has been teaching us Tadasana. So if you look at Guruji's Tadasana, there is a perfect alignment in the body. That is not just for the photograph to look good and balanced, because anybody into photography knows that a well-composed picture looks good. A well-balanced picture looks good. But is it just because of that? If you look at Guruji's eyes, you can see that state of absorption in the eyes. And that is expected from the practice of asanas. So once when we were having some kind of a meeting of a group of practitioners, and they were trying to identify various people who were doing asanas, they said, oh, this lady is doing it well. There was some other lady, but there's no smile on her face. The moment that lady is doing it for presentation, she'll be smiling. But then she's already down to word. Where is the yogic asana in that? So this is about Tadasana. And I remember Guruji could possibly explain us and get us into Tadasana maybe for hours together. Every time after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we would learn Tadasana, we would get a different insight into ourselves, depending on the number of ways of ignorance within ourselves we had conquered. Then we have Siddhasana, and here you have Siddhasana from the Ellora caves. And what is there? So we need to become established. Yogastha. Guruji was established. So if anything bothered us, if somebody irritates us, somebody says something, we get irritated. Guruji was Yogastha. If somebody came and disturbed him, we say, yeah, we would get why they're disturbing Guruji, as if we were his, great protectors, as if Guruji needed protection. He didn't get disturbed. He answered and went back to his work. So the point is that practice of yoga develops in us the ability to maintain an even temper in whatever we do, the work we do, what we speak, what we think. Obviously, what we speak is a reflection of what we think, and that is creating oneness in what we do. So yoga, after all, is union. It is creating oneness in words, in wisdom, and this is Siddhasana. And it is through that, Guruji has said, it is through the alignment of the body that I discovered the alignment of the mind, self, and intelligence. So it is through the body that you have an access to the self and intelligence, and you can see the perfect alignment, not externally, but how there is no duality between the body, mind, emotions. And when they are all in one, you are in the present. Then we had the third experiment, which is Hamsasana and Mayurasana, which is from Jodhpur. And of course, all these photographs are all the work of Deepika ji and her team. So, what did Guruji say? In whatever position one is in, or in whatever condition in life one is placed, one must find balance. So, the fact is, our environment is not under our control. I mean, people may have made plans for 5 years, for 1 week, 1 month. We may have our calendars properly planned. What did the pandemic do? It shattered all the plans. How do we handle it? Well, if you are a real practitioner of yoga, you maintain the balance of mind. Well, the plans are gone, so you have to do what you're supposed to do. So this is that, and that is living in the present. So yes, it doesn't mean that living in the present that we don't work towards the future. When you are working, you are doing whatever the future is going to be an outcome of your present. So it is also a state of balance where we are not being depressed by the past or living in past glory or dreaming of the future. So whether it is the mind is fluctuating between the past and the future, and when the mind is fluctuating, how can we be in a state of steadiness? Because yoga is steadiness. If there's no state of steadiness, how will you be in the state of yoga? So it is through the asanas again, this state of mind can be achieved. So here you see Guruji practicing Hamsasana and Mayurasana. Then Vashishasana. So it is very interesting that we find these sculptures or artwork in different parts. This is also from the Mahamandir in Jodhpur. And what it is, what Guruji would say, that things around us are constantly changing. But can you adapt to a balance in the world that is always moving and unstable? Like I just said, things may be changing, but can we retain our stability? But what happens? Generally, we want others to change. We don't want to change. So what Guruji said, it transforms the practitioner. And then, if we are not bothered by the moving world or the unstable environment, we learn to become tolerant to the permanence of change and difference. So things change, but we remain stable. We remain stable does not mean that we get stuck to orthodoxy, we get stuck to rituals. No. Our state of mind should be adaptable to the change. So this is what Guruji told us. So you can see his Vashishasana. And I think I want to draw your attention that these photographs were taken in the 1960s, late 1950s. There were no digital cameras to find out whether the photograph was aligned, whether the photograph was perfect, whether the lighting was correct. There was nothing. So what the images came were what he felt. These are the photographs, the book Light on Yoga, which took yoga all over the world. It got people attracted towards the subject of yoga. And although the book is filled with techniques, it is the introduction of the book, which is the philosophy of yoga, that has got people introduced to this subject again through the practice. And you can well imagine that how did this perfection in the asanas come? He didn't have anybody else guiding him and saying, hey, your arm is incorrect, adjust it, because who knew how the arm had to be adjusted? Who knew what should be the actual critically how accurate the asana should be. Today we have this book and we can imitate that and use that as a reference. We can put on a video and use it as a reference. But he didn't have that. So what is expressed outwardly was inward experiences. And that tells a lot about his practices. Then we took the next image of Marichasana 4. And this is depicted in many places. This is from a Jain temple in Mudbidri, the coastal town in Karnataka. And it is just an observation, and I may be wrong, that very often people tend to say that modern yoga practices have come from Europe, and these kind of practices didn't exist in India, and the standing asanas and etc. what came in were adaptations from the West, and Guruji's Guru had brought it from there. I totally don't believe in this kind of theories that yoga came from the West. Well, yoga has come from here, and the history of yoga of 6,000 years proves it. In addition, there are many physical exercises. You have gymnastics, you have various cultures across the world. And you may have people doing inverted positions, cartwheels. You may have people doing some exercises sideways or standing, sitting, curving back, the gymnasts do that. But very rarely you see intense twistings being done. And I do not know, but it is just an observation that you don't see much of it in any other cultures, but you do see this in the yogic asanas. And interestingly, most of the twisting asanas are named after sages. So you have Marichasana, you have Bharadwajasana, you have Ardha Matsyendrasana. So why is it so? And the practitioners would know that when we do the twisting asanas, immediately your mind goes inwards. It is possibly the fastest way to take your mind inwards than any other asanas or even just sitting in Padmasana. Why is it so? Is it that it is because these twisting asanas the sages performed there, So they had this as if an instant, like instant noodles, the instant ability to take the mind inwards. I do not know. And it is, it's quite interesting that a lot of twistings are often associated, not just body twistings, but in general, is associated with strength, rejuvenation, and power is associated with twists and coils. So if you look at the rope, the rope derives its strength from the twist and coil. So if you take multiple pieces of threads, the strongest, they are not as strong as the coils that the rope is taking. And if you talk about the Greek god, a symbol of medicine, it is a twig around a coiled snake. So again, is some connection between coiling and health? I do not know. I would like Deepika ji to possibly do her research onto that aspect. Again, if you look, the coiled snakes have often been a symbol of fertility. So, again, it symbolizes rejuvenation. And if you look as a biologist, even the DNA is a double helix. It is twisted. And imagine if the DNA were straight and if it was subjected to DNA breaks, what would human beings be today? Possibly we would be highly mutated species, or possibly human beings wouldn't have survived. Because this DNA is going from generation to generation, and if there were easy breaks, then what would have happened? So it is quite interesting that anything which is associated with strength, power, rejuvenation is coiled. And if we further look at very recently, when they looked at mineral crystals twisting, and you looked at using microscopy, they found that the collagen strands which form a helical structure in bones. So all this time we said calcium and phosphate makes our bones strong. But again they find that the collagen strands are actually forming a helical structure in our bones, and that is what gives bones the strength and toughness. How do you explain us standing on our legs, on just our bones, whatever our body weight? We practice Shirshasana. How are we handling the weight on our forearms? So it is something to do with our bones, and is it possibly because of the helical structure, which makes it take a greater load and breaking before breaking compared to the simple linear structures. So I think there's so much depth in this twisting asanas. And if you look at these twisting asanas, you can see Guruji has showed them beautifully how they can be done. And it is very interesting, and he would often say that twisting asanas straighten the twisted mind. Your mind cannot go crooked if you're doing twisting asanas. And it is very interesting for practitioners that, as we grow older, we may continue to practice our standing asanas, our inverted asanas, Shirshasana, Sarvangasana, Urdhva Dhanurasana, and all the forward and backward bending asanas. But twisting asanas often are lost for various reasons again. But you can see that possibly as we age, our mind, we claim that as we grow older, our mind will go inward, but actually the mind possibly goes outwards. So twisting asanas are a very, very, very fascinating group of asanas, not just from the anatomical perspective, from the physiological perspective, but also from the entire perspective of what it does to the mind. Then we went on to look at Mula Bandhasana. And Deepika ji found this text, where there is an illustration of Mula Bandhasana in ancient text. And maybe she can later add where these texts are from. And Guruji said that yoga allows you to find a new kind of freedom that you may not have even known existed. I mean, what is our perception of freedom? To be able to do what we want. And again, the wants keep changing. So Guruji had said that freedom, true freedom is freedom with discipline. Now, how does this discipline come? It cannot be always be by an external force, by parents telling you, or your guru telling you, or the Lord telling you that you have to be disciplined or you will be fine. It comes from within. And when that discipline comes in, you are not bound by external forces because you do what is in sync with society, with nature. So this is again a beautiful picture of Mula Bandhasana and Guruji doing Mula Bandhasana. So externally people may talk, yes, Mula Bandhasana gives enormous amount of flexibility to the hip joint, knee, ankle. But beyond that, it is the freedom that comes not in the way we think. And if we have a free mind, we are more tolerant. And if we are more tolerant, there is more peace in the world. Then there is Matsyendrasana, again a twisting asana. And as I said earlier, I quoted Guruji, body exists in the past and the mind exists in the future. I want to do this, but the body is still lazing around. They come together in the present, and this is about Ardha Matsyendrasana. Then we have Bandhan Konasana, again in the Mahamandir in Jodhpur. You can see this ancient artwork. Guruji is again referred to freedom here. There is no progress towards ultimate freedom without transformation, and this is the key issue in all lives. If we get transformed, there is freedom. So you can see the perfection in his asanas. The perfection in his asanas was with a purpose, not a mere photogenic purpose. And then there's Garbhapindasana. This is a very interesting, it is very, very ancient. It's a Harappan terracotta statue. And it's quite interesting that it really seems to be resembling Garbhapindasana. Is it? They're closing our eyes and to the external world. Is it a way to take our mind in? So as you can see, friends, there were many, many asanas. We selected a few for the exhibition. And then today, everybody associates Guruji with the discovery of the yoga props. And well, he discovered the yoga props. But why did he discover the yoga props? Not to do something different, not to create a market. His idea of a yoga prop was that with that support, we could get into the perfection or move towards the asana such that we get that sthirata sukhata. And he would often say that the first chapter of Patanjali talks about samadhi. There is supported and there is unsupported. So if samadhi can require support, why can't asanas be given support? And that's why we discovered the myriad of props, including the yoga mat, which has become so symbolic that if we carry a yoga mat, we believe we are doing yoga. Yoga mat is not essential for yoga. What is needed is not a yoga mat, but a yogic mind that is needed for yoga. And here we know that this is in Hampi, where we have Lord Narasimha, and you can see the yoga patta, or you can see the belt around the knees. And as practitioners of yoga, we often do that when we are doing our Padmasana, when the hips are stiff. We do that also in Baddha Konasana. So the belt did exist many, many years ago. So, but what is the prop? It is not just these external fixtures. You know, people used to laugh at Guruji when he started introducing the props. They would say he's a furniture yogi. He didn't care about the world. Like his previous, whatever the environment, whatever the people say, he continued on this path. Again, he was questioned by his contemporaries that you are modifying yoga. This is not yoga, what you're doing. Why? Has anybody said how yoga has to be done? Or we all have texts talk about the effect of yoga. So what if he uses prop to get the effect of yoga? And that is why he introduced the props. And his greatest quote is, isn't the body the prop of the soul? He said, the body is the prop for the soul. So why not let the body be propped by a wall or a belt or a block? So finally, who are we? It's an eternal question. Is it our name? Is it our form? Or is it our Atman? And if it is, isn't our body a prop for our soul for getting into the deeper and deeper aspects where the Samadhi Father talks about moving towards Samadhi. So that's why when Deepika said the first chapter is for the evolved practitioners. But the Sadhana Father is for practitioners like us. And if we need to use support, we can use support. And it is very interesting that just 30 to 40 years ago, or even less, I would say 25 years ago, when Guruji brought in props, they said that was not yoga. Today, we are in competitions between how are you going to use the props. So that, friends, is how, and that is why yoga became popular across the world, not as a source of, as to become as a profession, but because it helped them in what they did, it made them better in what they did, it made them better individuals. So for an ordinary human being who may not have aspirations of nirvana or kaivalya, their ordinary aspirations are being better than what they are. So Guruji said the practice of yoga would make you a better scientist. If you are a scientist, if you are a homemaker, a better homemaker, if you are a financial broker, a better financial person. So whatever you do, you become better in what you do. And in the process, the yoga starts transforming a person. And that is possibly the reason why Yehudi Menuhin called Guruji his best one and teacher, because it was Manuel who, who introduced Guruji to the West and yoga in a big way to the West in the practical sense. And then finally, we have illustration of Padmasan here. The last one. So you have Padmasan, and you can see what is spirituality. It is not an external goal. I cannot aim to become a spiritual person. I cannot say I have a timeline and say I will become spiritual when I'm this age, or when I go to this to the mountains, I'll become spiritual. It is not an external goal that one can seek, but it's a part of the divine core of each of us, which we must reveal. So if we have, what Guruji would say is, we should not be start as becoming seekers, but the aim of yoga is to become seers, where we see the divinity which is existing in each of us. And when we move towards there, it is only natural that various aspects of health, the physical, physiological, emotional, intellectual, that of the conscience, Deepika referred to corruption. But when your conscience starts breaking you, you would call about the organs of the dharmendriya, when your conscience surfaces, then naturally all these negative traits start gradually diminishing. So we need to start this practice, and it's wonderful that it says International Day of Yoga. There are some who may practice it only on that day. Well, if they are inspired, maybe they just practice it for a week, a month, and maybe like for many, many people across the world, it is not only a part of life, it is their life. So thank you, Neuroscience Center, Dr. Kenneth, and Deepika ji for this wonderful avenue for us to see the history and then compare it to modern yoga as we practice it. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. It was indeed a pleasure for us. The beauty of this is the historicity of the yoga. For example, in the exhibition that we did last year and the year before, you actually shown that now to the audience. There is an evidence of the practice of yoga dating back to what Dr. Deepika ji says, from the times of the Harappan times. So those yogic postures that is evidenced in sculpture, art, you showed that, and the Guruji actually practicing those asanas. And talking about the props, the signature image that we have used for our invitation card, that's Ugra Narasimha, which is there in Hampi. If you really look at his posture, there's a kind of I think a prop which is there in the sculpture that you've seen there. Perhaps one of the reasons could be, to democratize the yoga, which is not only for the spiritual enlightened, for a common man as well, so that it brings health. I think your Guruji rightly pointed out a beautiful thing. I think he said some very interesting thing, that his body itself is my body is a temple and asanas are the prayers. It embodies the importance of yoga.
Yes.
Yes. Do you have anything to say, Deepika ji?
मैम आपका माइक म्यूट है, अनम्यूट कर दीजिए मैम.
Dr. Rajvi has given such an elaborate aspect of yoga, and especially what Guruji taught over the years to the world. So that's really very comprehensive and detailed account of that. I would just add to this is that when people wanted to acquire the detailed knowledge of things, they did sit in asana for long hours. And this has been a long practice, and without this absolute alignment of the body, one cannot sit for long hours. So to do that, one has to practice perfect asana, and the person can sit for long hours, and you can see anybody doing any drawing or indulging in a long experiment, one stays in that position for long hours. So that's a practice. I mean, if you are a yoga practitioner, things becomes much easier. So thank you so much for including me into this. Thank you, Rajvi.
Rajvi ji, I just asked one question. This is the pandemic time, and some of the audience are asking that where can we see this exhibition. Unfortunately, we'll not be able to because the center is closed. It's locked under the lockdown. I think, but yoga in the current times when you have the COVID pandemic, people, Ayush is actually talking about the immunity enhancement, and especially the breathing part of it. Maybe you would like to highlight on this.
See, first and foremost, when you're practicing for, there are three categories of people. One, I would say that, there is the fear of COVID and the lockdown, which has created, possibly from what we hear, from stories in the media and from people around, that this lockdown and has created a lot of problems for people emotionally. But honestly speaking, when I'm speaking to my fellow practitioners across the world, the image that comes out is very, very different. And we have just started on a small survey about the emotional state of people who are practicing. It's quite interesting that most of them have not experienced any amount of anxiety or stress. Now, having said that, one would definitely want to know what do you do for that. And that cannot happen overnight. But what the first thing is, that when there is one is anxious, one tends to slouch, one is stressed, your head. I mean, Deepika just spoke about the top brain and the bottom brain. When you think too much, you're on the frontal brain. So what Guruji had said in most of the asanas, and which is what a signature, it's a language in Iyengar yoga, open the chest. So, you will say that anybody who comes to class will say, open the chest, don't sit slouch with your heart sinking in. Open out. So we can say, like Hanumanji tearing open his chest, showing Ram and Sita. You spread out. So you spread the chest, let the shoulders go back. Now what is going to happen there is naturally your breath becomes deeper. Now it's very difficult for a novice to really sit, with the chest well open. So if I'm sitting like this, and I'm sitting like this, naturally you will see that the alertness of the mind, the emotional state changes. So therefore, there are a series of asanas where you are supported. So you can do a Supta Virasana, Supta Vatakonasana, Purvottanasana, which actually start giving you the sense of opening. Then, this is the emotional center. This is what we would call the thinking brain or the intellectual center. And in principle, in our practices, we do asanas which are inverted, where the region of the heart is above the region of the head. Because when it does this anxiety, etc., transform. We call it emotional, but it stems from the fears that are generated by the brain. So the inverted asanas, Shirshasana, Sarvangasana, Setuvan Sarvangasana, Uttanasana, Adho Mukhasvanasana, all these asanas help. And there would be, you do them supported. Why? So that you can stay longer, and if you stay longer, you have a better effect. So I think, these are the practices, and when you stay longer, again they say people define Iyengar yoga as staying long in poses. It is not staying long for a specific definition of time, but it is that you start getting absorbed, you feel comfortable, so you stay long. So that is how the props help, because with the support, it's possible to stay much longer than one can do without props. So basically, it is this asanas, but I would like to highlight to the new people, don't just attempt to do Shirshasana. Possibly your anxiety of the pandemic would decrease, and your anxiety of damaging your neck. It has to be done under proper guidance. If you don't have a teacher, or it may be difficult to find a teacher, you can refer to the books and use the books to learn the different asanas. So I think this is how the asanas modify the breath, and the breath modifies the mind. And after all, the body, mind, and breath are a triumvirate, each acting on the other. So we cannot say that we can do it. Of course, there's a lot of talk about pranayama, and we say, why don't we do pranayama? So if you look at the aspects of Ashtanga yoga, you need the stability of the body to go for pranayama. It is not just regulating the breath, which is pranayama, because we have a term for breath, which is shwasa. So it wouldn't be pranayama, it would be shwasayam. So we are not doing pranayama, but after, if you are very well established asanas, you can go in for the pranayama. But at least start with asanas, and your breath will get modulated, your breath will get regulated, and these anxieties and the emotional disturbances, the isolation that people feel will not be there. So you don't feel alone, you don't feel lonely, because you are with yourself. So I think that could help people during the pandemic. Now, of course, things are easing out in most parts of India, except possibly certain parts of certain of the metros.
Dr. Rajvi, I think there are a couple of questions that during the pandemic and lockdown time, people are under stress. And do you suggest that is there any particular yoga which can actually bring down the stress level and BP, for example. Stress and BP are actually connected, interconnected.
Yes.
That's what one of the question is from the audience.
I would have loved to say so, but like I would say asanas are not prescriptions, but descriptions. So even if I prescribe do these three things, are you really doing it the way it should be done? And if not done correctly, so I've given you a broad hint that you do asanas or use positions where your chest is well opened and you can stay, and the inverted asanas. But I cannot give a specific, a thing, like it's not like a prescription medicine which you can get from the chemist and it can help you out. It needs to be done with certain level of thing. So you can start with supported asanas. You can refer to the books. Fortunately, you can get them online. So there are a couple of books by Vishuddhi. This is Vital Yoga, the classic. There is Yoga, the Part to Holistic Health. Gitaji's Yoga Gem for Women, which are all available online. There's Yoga for Sports, which gives a lot on recovery. So any of these books can be referred for the practical aspect. And there's a new book also, Arogya Yoga. So there are a lot of books available which you can refer. Primarily, you'll be focusing on chest opening and inverted asanas, or supported inverted asanas where the head is lower.
Actually, I mean, the Ayush is also prescribing a lot of this yoga practices, and you can actually, people can actually look at the website of ICMR and Ayush as well.
Yes.
Some of the audience are asking, I think they were very impressed with your the digital exhibition that you showed.
Yes.
Where can they get this exhibition? For them, I would like to make an announcement that please log on to the Nehru Science Center website. What we'll do is in a day, maybe tomorrow itself, we will ensure that this is available online for free download so that you can use it and maybe refer it and then look back at the history when, for example, when you talk about the Ugra Narasimha of the Hampi, I mean, it dates back to about 14th century. I mean, you have an evidence, standing evidence talking about the Ugra Narasimha in the Padmasanam position. Similarly, you have, I think, Deepika ji's the 2-part documentary. If you have a look at that, you can actually trace back the history of the yoga from the Harappan times. I think if you go on, it can keep going on and on. Maybe if you have the concluding remarks, each one of you can actually say so. And then let's wish all our national and international audience who have logged on all the very best for the International Yoga Day. And let's wish that this Yoga Day ushers in a day when the pandemic will end and the COVID pandemic will end. Hopefully we live a better life.
Well, I think the pandemic has also taught us a lot, and it has made people sit back and think. And I think that is the brighter side. And hopefully there are this attitude which has been cultivated. And if we take out the negative aspects of the pandemic, I think we can take it forward. And the introduction of this is the best time to introduce yourself to yoga if you're not already into it. And maybe you can see how far it takes you for whatever upheavals that come in life. So I think it's a good, and I would like to thank you for organizing it. Sir, if it's okay with you, we could also post the exhibition on the Iyengar Yoga social media. So if it's free to download, let more and more people know about this. I think very good collaboration that we've had between our 3 organizations, the Nehru Science Center, Vishuddhi Films, and Iyengar Yogashraya. So if it's okay, we could even post it there so more and more people can actually see the exhibition.
The beauty of the Nehru Science Center is for the public. So anything and everything that we do, it is freely available for the public. You're most welcome to do so, ma'am. And so is the case with Dr. You can also, madam, you can also do that. I mean, if you want to share it with your own people, you're most welcome, Deepika ji. And
thank you so much for making this program before the yoga day. People are relaxed at home, and I think they must have watched it also or would be watching it. I can just say that as Rajvi said, we have learned a lot how Earth is rebooting and showing its beautiful colors. I think nature teaches us a lot, and yoga is part of nature. So we must learn to live with nature. Things will open up by itself. Yoga is a way to learn from nature and our nature of the body, our nature of outside and inside, everything. So I think many of you can follow the simple rules of yoga and follow the path. That's the best way one can learn the Indian way of living. And Indian way of living doesn't mean that, undercoat, but the lifestyle that I have talked about. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this program. Thank you.
Thank you to our distinguished audience. Tomorrow again, we have second part of this International Yoga Day program. I'll request you to please join us around 10:30. There will be a live session, which will be again courtesy Iyengar Yogashraya, that we'll be doing this tomorrow as well. And please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll also be having a program on the total solar eclipse. Professor Wahia will be speaking tomorrow evening about the significance of the eclipse. Keep logged on. Have a look at our social website and also the website, our Nehru Science Center website. Once again, wishing you all a very happy International Yoga Day. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Rajvi ji. Thank you, Deepika ji. Namaskar.